I'm going to show you how to crochet a square. We're going to do a 7-inch square. I'm going to start with the plastic yarn. So this yarn is just a strip of plastic from a plastic bag. It's not spun. If you want to use a drop spindle and spin it, you can do that. That's one extra step. I'm just going to use it as it is right now. So to get started on any crochet, before you get started, you want to make a slip knot. And this is something we did with the frame looms. So to make a slip knot, I'm going to take my yarn and make a U shape. And then I'm going to cross it. So the bottom one now, the short tail is on top of the longer tail of the plastic. And I'll reach through the bottom of that loop and pull the long piece through to make a slip knot. So I have a slip knot there, and that means if I pull on this longer piece of yarn, the knot begins to get smaller. I'm going to go ahead and pull this until I have a loop around my crochet hook. You can see there's just a touch of space between the knot and the loop and the crochet hook. That gives me a little more space to work with. When I'm working with alternative materials like this, I don't want to pull my crochet knots too tight. So I have my slip knot on my crochet hook, and I'm going to do some chain stitches. So to do a chain stitch, I want to wrap my yarn around the crochet hook, and then I'm holding the top of the yarn. It's wrapped around my finger for tension. And then I'm pinching this knot here. So with my left yarn, I'm holding tension on the top of the yarn, and I'm holding this bottom loop here. And then I want to just pull my first loop through. So I'm going to do that again, and you can see once I pull it through, I could pull it really tight with this left finger, or on my right hand, I'm pulling out a little bit, and you can see there's a little bit of space between the end of this knot and the crochet hook. I'm going to take my crochet hook again and wrap it once, and then I'm going to pull it through that loop. And these are just chain stitches. So you wrap and pull through. And this is the beginning of my stitch for my square that I'm going to crochet. And I'm just going to do a series of crocheted chain stitches. And so then I'm going to move my fingers up here to pinch onto this. This gives me some control and stability as I'm chaining. And I want it to be 7 inches. So I'm going to keep crocheting this chain. And the more you get used to this, the faster you will go. And right here, I'm trying to pull it and it's not pulling. So what I'm going to do is back out and open up that loop a little bit by pulling my crochet hook out. When you're using a material like plastic, sometimes it sticks a little bit, so it's good to give yourself a little bit of extra space while you're working with it. It's not quite as flexible as yarn. And actually I'm going to do it 6 inches instead of 7 inches. So I have one more loop here. And so from the end of my crochet tail, from the very first knot, all the way down, I have a loop here at 6 inches, and I'm going to do one extra loop. So as you're crocheting, you need to do, if you're doing a flat piece, you want to do an extra loop on the end of every series of crochet, because that's going to actually give you a loop to go upwards so that you don't end up decreasing your stitches. So my loop is coming out of this very last hole here in my chain stitch. I want to skip this one because I already have the yarn coming through there. And now I'm going to go back into the first hole in the chain stitch that doesn't have yarn coming through it. So you can see there are a series of V's right here. Those are the ones I'm going through. So I have my crochet hook through there. I'm going to wrap it once and I pull that through that first hole. So now you can see I have 2 loops on my crochet hook. So I pulled it through the first one, and then I'm going to wrap it and I'm going to pull this through both of those stitches of the loops. That is called a single crochet. So now you can see the yarn was coming through this loop here. I want to go to the next one. So I'm working from right to left. So because it already came through here and it's all attached to my crochet hook, you keep this loop on your crochet hook and go into this next hole here. So I'm going into this hole. Now I wrap that yarn on top of my crochet hook and I'm going to pull it through that hole there. So I've pulled it through the hole and now I have 2 loops on my crochet hook. You can see I pulled it to give myself a little extra space to work with. Now I'm going to wrap my crochet hook and pull it through both of those loops. So now that I came out of this loop, I'm going to go into the next one in my chain stitch. I go in and I wrap it, and then I wrap again and pull through both. So the chain stitch is just pulling through one loop. A single crochet stitch, which is what we're doing right now, you go into the chain, I wrap my crochet hook, pull it through, and now I have 2 stitches on my crochet hook. I wrap and pull it again. So it's 2 steps for a single crochet. So as I'm going through, you can see this knot here is attached to the yarn and it's going into that hole. So I don't want to go into that hole. I want to go into the one right next to it. Wrap, pull it through, wrap again, and pull through both of those loops. Now I go again to the next hole, wrap, pull, and wrap and pull through 2. So into the next hole and I wrap it and pull it through the first loop, wrap again and pull it through 2 loops. So single crochet, it goes into this stitch and then you pull 1 piece of yarn out and you have 2 on your crochet hook, and then you pull through both. So that is a single crochet hook, single crochet stitch, sorry. So it's 2 steps. And I have a couple more stitches to do until I get to the end of the row, and I'll show you how to turn and go back the other way. Oops, and that one slipped off. So when it slips off like this, all you have to do is just pull it. You can see there's a loop sticking up here. This is really nice about working with plastic. It doesn't just totally fall apart. I just stick my crochet hook back through there and I re-stitch it. So I'm going to pull that through the first loop and then pull it through 2. Now my crochet hook goes into the next stitch, wrap my yarn, pull it through there, then wrap my yarn again and pull it through both. Now I have 2 more stitches here. In this area right here, you can see the extra bit here. This is where I turned on my bag when I was cutting it. So that's the edge of the bag. And so you'll have a little more material to work with. You want to be extra careful when you're pulling that so it doesn't pull out and tear the bag. The last stitch, the hole to go through is a little bit smaller. Okay, so I've gone all the way across. I have this tail here I'm going to trim down so it stays out of my way. So I've gone all the way across. Now I want to go back the other way, and I'm going to show you how to find the hole of the stitch to go in. But before you do a single crochet, you want to do a chain stitch. So I just do 1 chain at the end. That gives me volume to go upwards in the crocheting. I'm going to turn my crocheting around, and then I'm going to start single crocheting. So to figure out where to go, I just came out of this stitch and here's my next stitch. If you look at the very top of your crochet, you can see these V shapes here. Some people like to go on one side of the V to grab the crochet, I'm going to go right underneath the V. So I have my crochet hook right underneath that V, and then I pull one stitch of the yarn through, and I wrap and pull it through both stitches. So that's my first single crochet stitch. Now my next stitch to go under, so you can see there's a V right there, and there's a space right under that V. I'm going to go in that space and wrap my crochet hook, pull it through, wrap my crochet hook again, and pull through 2. Single crochet. So I go in the next one, wrap, pull through, wrap, pull through 2 stitches, or 2 loops. That's a single stitch. So here you can see all of this yarn is coming out of that stitch. Now I go to the next stitch. There's a V shape on top. I go right underneath that and do a single crochet stitch. And I'm just going to do this all the way down. And now here you can see as I crocheting, I have this tab here from where I turned my yarn when I was cutting it. And so it can be a little bit of a problem as you're working with it. You just want to scrunch it down and pull it through. It's a little bit harder to pull through, but don't pull too tight as you're doing it so you don't tear it. So now I'm getting to the other side. I'm going to show you how to turn again. And then you can keep crocheting and I'll show you how to finish it at the end. So you just build a square row by row. And these are single crochet stitches. We're just going to stick with that for this project to keep it simple. The very last stitch, you can see there's this stitch on the end right here that has that V shape. And so I just want to go down under there through the base of that. I pull a loop and then pull it through 2. So that's a single crochet. So now you can see I have the first row is just the chain stitch. Then I have 2 single crochet rows. I'm going to do 1 chain stitch up so that I can turn around and start going the other direction. So this stitch right here, you can see I have a chain coming through. I want to go into the next hole there to start my single crochet. And you can see the holes now are really pronounced that I'm going to go through. So this is 1 stitch, this is the next stitch, and I'm going to work, and I can pull this out a little bit and I can see the next stitch to go through, and that's directly underneath this V of that stitch that's coming over. So I'm going to keep working back and forth until I get 7 inches or 6 inches, and then I will show you how to finish it.